and we're going to talk a little bit about the assessment and how we approach that. What kind of diversity do we have, and just not only diversity in gender, but also diversity in intellect and perspective. So maybe you can just give us a little bit of your background and your board exposure.
Thank you, Shane. So my name is Mahir Julphar. I've been. It's not working. Can you hear me now? Okay. So my name is Mahir Julphar. I'm the Executive Vice President at Dubai World Trade Center. I've been with them since 2005, when it was half of the space we have today. I've been on a few boards, locally and internationally. Locally, I'm on the board of Sheikh Hamdan Sports Complex. I'm also on the board of Dubai Sports Council Investment and Projects Committee. And I've also actually been on the board of Riyadh Exhibition Center, ICA World, which is the International Congress and Conference Association, where they're responsible for all the international congresses and conferences where cities and countries want to bid for. They go through the ICA Congress, and I was representing the Middle East at that time. And I'm also on the board of UFI, which is the main association for exhibitions and their performances and their growth and their economic impact on the cities. Unfortunately, on two of the boards, when I first joined, the mandate was to replace the CEOs. So that was not fun. And it was very expensive for the company by itself, especially in a non-profit association. It's very expensive to let a CEO go and compensate them. And the other board, the CEO had his own company organizing events, and he was the CEO of the company. But see, it's different here. I mean, from a personal view, in our region, especially in the UAE or the Middle East, we are very emotional. It's very personal. When it comes to international associations, people don't take things personal. The board's responsibility is the reputation of the organization, the value of the organization, and also the impact of it and the legacy. Where here it's always short term, very short time, and they have to achieve. Expectation is higher from either stakeholders or shareholders or the chairman himself. So I've seen them all, and they're all different. And I've enjoyed this industry because I have passion for it. My main job is to promote Dubai as a destination, organizing and hosting events. And recently, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid announced the expansion of the new Dubai Exhibition Center, which is about 10 billion dirham. And the reason we were given that opportunity was I had to justify to the higher committee of the board why we need to do it, because if we don't do it, somebody else will do it. And so one thing I think we are lucky here in Dubai, especially as Emiratis, or in Dubai especially, that we're one or two calls away from the decision maker. Where in other countries, other cities, it takes, I think, decades to change a road. And I've heard it, I've been there, I've seen it. So I'll leave it for here. I mean, I can go on.
No, let's maybe, Mr. Mazen, you can please tell them a little bit about yourself and your background.
Thank you, Shane. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. Pleasure, delighted to be here, and congrats to you, Shane, and your organization, and Hawkama for putting this fantastic organization. I think, so a bit about myself. My name is Mazen Dalati. I'm the Group CEO of Rostamani Group, one of the largest family conglomerates here in the UAE. I've recently joined them about 7 months ago. I can use your mic. I think this is better, yeah. So I've joined the group 7 months ago. I'm the group CEO. Just a bit about the group. We are very diversified, 10 companies within the group. We are in automotive, 3 companies in automotive. We also have services. We have like a Rostamani Exchange, Rostamani Travel. We have one of the largest energy companies as well within the group. And of course, we have a big play in properties and construction. Like the Dubai frame, our company built the Dubai frame. So I joined on the path for growth. They brought me. My background is from a tech background, 30 years in technology, specifically from General Electric. There's a lot of pharma, medtech background in my experience, and that is important because the medical technology, the technology field, is very highly regulated, and when it's a regulated field, is that you need to manage all that regulation. So this is what I'm trying to bring. This is why the family have brought me to be on board. And of course, the journey has been fantastic and phenomenal. So whatever I'm going to share with you today is related to my previous life, because I cannot disclose anything other than what I disclosed, general information in public. But 30 years of experience. I've been on as an executive board on multiple JVs at the top of my previous world. Been an executive director as well on a couple of family boards here and in Saudi. But the world of the board is also different between the family, the way I see it, and the public organization. I think we can address that with discussion, but I'll leave it at this with a quick introduction. I'll give you the floor back, Shane, to ask the questions.
Great, thank you for that. So why do we have board assessment? And obviously that is to drive peak performance within the organization, to make sure that we have board members that are aligned to the capabilities that we need to realize our vision, to execute our strategy. So a lot of times there's an issue and we then resolve it by saying, okay, we'll bring in NED to the board. And sometimes, if you're not careful, that NED can, we don't often talk about underperforming board members. And that NED can destroy more value than what your initial issue was. And of course, we have multiple examples. So I was going to ask both Mazen and Mahir, if you have any examples or in your career where you've seen board members who are underperforming and it's really affected profitability, or it's affected your ability as CEO to actually perform. And often, sometimes it even results in the CEO resigning because he can't find his or her, or she can't find her success in that role.
Let's start. Okay. This is really a very important question, Shane. But I think we need to start from the recruiting process of the board member, because the recruitment, like you're recruiting any other employee, you need to make that proper assessment. And what I've seen in multiple places in the world where we need to recruit somebody with that background because we need diversity on the board, right? But there are a lot of things that need to be assessed. We've seen people who are on 12 boards. Come on, you cannot be...
one guy's on 22, like the
yeah,
PIF
so
guys are on 22,
you cannot
24.
really be contributing non-executive director on 12 board. That's not possible. I mean, I've been on boards, and then really board, if you want to be active, 2 to 3 is you're going to be consumed, specifically if you are asked to lead a committee, right? So this is the way I see it. So, but nevertheless, I've been lucky because I haven't had so far the challenge to deal with a non-performing board. But if it were to come, the way I address it from my experiences, but also from the classes that Hawkama have taught me, is really about the alignment. We need to assess and ensure that as a CEO, for example, if I am as a CEO and I'm dealing with the board, the alignment on the forward thinking has to be exemplified, because the CEO and the board are committed and then are responsible to all the stakeholders of the organizations, internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. If this alignment is not there, the schism is going to create an issue, okay? So, but then you would say, well, maybe there are 7, 8 members who are performing and 1 non-performing. Frankly speaking, it depends where do you sit. Are you a board member, or are you, like me, a CEO? Now, I'm an executive CEO. Frankly speaking, I would go in and then ensure, do they have the knowledge? Because a lot of the times, the science of board dynamics is that sometimes board do not execute because maybe they don't have the information, maybe they're not educated, maybe they're not well informed prior to the meeting. When I was an executive board member, I always ask before going to the board, I need to have the material, I need to read. And if you don't prepare that interaction between the C-suite and the board, you prepare to have an issue, and the meeting is not going to be well performed. So you might have a member who is really capable, but is not informed, so that could be addressed, misinformed, that, then you're not contributing. So is this an underperforming, or that requires education, require alignment and all that? So the more we align before the meeting of the board will be very smooth. So it's about communication with And if it comes that then a board member, he or she are not performing, the chairman is the get-go. The chairman has a responsibility to align and ensure from the board assessment, how do they bring in individual or companies to come in and make a third-party assessment of the board, and then and so on and so on. This is how it is. But frankly speaking, on non-performing, I would go to minus zero of hiring. That's how it's. This is my perspective.
Right.
Thank you. I mean, just to add to Mazen's points, he mentioned about diversified board members. I think every board should have, they should be an expert in different fields, different sectors, but yet aware of the industry that they're being, sitting on. I think lobbying is another thing where you need to make sure that, all the 5 or 6 or 10 board members are aligned, because sometimes you sit and present something to the board and they're not in agreement. So I think lobbying is a good thing to make sure that, everyone's aligned, what's the best for the, the organization's strategy, and, making sure that their role is to approve, track the progress of the strategy, which is, 2 of the 3 most important things, but at the same time make sure, which is the third one, is that when our business is successful and profitable, that's when they start worrying, because that's when other, the competition will be after your business, your employees, and your customers. So I think, boards should think that at that level as well. Yeah.
So what is your approach to board assessment? What kind of assessment do you think the board members should go through, or historically in the processes you've been involved in? Maybe you can talk a little bit about what maybe someone can expect if they're going to their next board interview.
As you said, that it's expectations, right? You need to ensure that the expectations are clarified, and what are the responsibilities, the role of this particular board member. But the dynamics of the board, whether you're on the executive side or non-executive, it has to be aligned. And as Mahir mentioned, the alignment between the board and the CEO is very simply, there's a line. There is something backward, which is performance, accountability, that the board has to ensure is given and then monitored. But forward-looking, which is the foresight, the strategy, Mahir, that you mentioned, to make sure that the allocation of resources are given to the organization, to the executive body to derive, and then give authority as well, right? So this is something that's very important, because giving the DOA, giving the authority does not take out the accountability. Okay, that's the important part of it. So you have that line where you look backward, performance, accountability, measurement, and this is not only to the shareholders, which is key, number one, but to the stakeholders, because a big company, whether it is small or medium or large, they deal with governments, regulatory bodies, banks, employees themselves. They're all stakeholders. We need to ensure that. So the purpose forward is the challenge sometimes, because are you sure that this is the purpose, this is where we want to go, whether it is an acquisition or a divestment, or these are some big decisions that require diversity and then good discussion on the board. So that is manageable. And then the more heated discussion, frankly speaking, as long as you're aligned, I think it's lovely. You challenge each other, you do this, as long as you go out for the benefit of the purpose. That's the way I see it.
Great.
I mean, segregating the local boards or commercial boards here in the UAE and international boards. In international boards, you have the members or the stakeholders. They elect you based on what you have achieved in the past, and you have a cutoff date. So you have 2 terms or 3 terms where you sit, and then you have to you have to change. There has to be a new blood coming in with new different ideas, reaffirming and modifying the strategy. But here in Dubai, or UAE, I would say, it's different. You have different, board appointment procedures and policies. So it's either the shareholder appointing someone that they think who's capable to be on the board representing them, either the government or a private shareholder, or it's a stakeholder that they appoint, or a number of stakeholders appointing a board member to represent them.
Yeah, if you want my opinion, how most of the board assessment works is it's a rigged game. So, don't come whining to me that you haven't got justice. You have to realize that your mindset is that you have to beat the odds. You're a salmon going upstream. The chair, just imagine if you're a chair, you have $500 million of value locked in a company. Do you want to just have some arbitrary person in your board seat that you don't know? Or do you want the guy you went to school with and you've known for 30 years and is going to align with you and help you push the agenda through that you want? How many times have I been in a board assessment and two of the board members, you know, you have maybe 3 to 5 people on the NRC final interviews, and 2 of them are lobbying for a candidate. How do you overcome that? So you look at people like Michael Jordan, or you look at Ronaldo, or they don't come to do their job. You have to be a playmaker. You have to be, if you want to succeed in this race, you really need to be a superstar. You need to outperform because yes, you are up against an old boys network. So stop whining about it. And yes, we're not going to have all the diversity that you want, and you're not going to see the colors of Benetton on the board. Fine, just get over it. It's not a fair world. It's not a just world. So your mindset has to be that of a warrior. When you wake up, you're going to be like, I'm so good that I'm going to blow this off the doors. I'm going to knock their socks off. And they're going to say, you know what? I was thinking of getting my buddy, but she's pretty awesome. And I think she's going to kill it. And you have to turn the tables. You have to win against all odds. You have to be a no matter what person. And you have to exude that value proposition. So, again, I'm not popular, I know that, but that's fine. So one of the questions that I would state here that drives me. So one of the big reasons why I personally disqualify board members. I don't know if you've disqualified, and it's a bit contentious because not everyone agrees with my perspective, and I'm obviously fine with that. But is that they refuse? You'd be surprised. I mean, I've been in shock. I'm in interviews. I'm in shock. They refuse to visit the asset. They refuse to visit the customers. And, you take brands like, you take J.W. Marriott or Isidore Sharp, who's the founder of Four Seasons. When Isidore Sharp was on his honeymoon, he went to a different hotel every single night to, get the pulse of the customer on the ground. So why do the greatest, highest paid board members in the world feel that they need to walk the floor, that they need to understand the customer, but here in the Middle East, a lot of the board members feel that it's just their experience and their, insight that they're going to spill over, magic wand experience. They're going to spill across the company, and we're going to get an alpha, and we're going to beat the market. And so I would ask you, who feels that I'm totally, should I have not disqualified those candidates? Would you want to have a board member who, you have 6,000 keys in Mecca Hotel and your board members don't want to visit the hotel? So I'll turn that over to our panel.
I agree. I think you have to know what you're talking about, because if there is, for example, let's say to your point regarding being in the field, if they're visiting a factory, but then there's the discussion of the budget, then there's an expansion project that needs to be adding a line, okay, or hiring more, hiring this. If you're not there, if you don't get the feel, how are you as a board member or an executive, even me as a CEO, if you don't see that facility, are going to be able to discuss? Again, to discuss what? Not to shut down the project, but to discuss to make sure that you bring an element of value, because you're there to bring your expertise, whether it's financial, marketing, IT, and all of that. You need to be on the ground and you need to see it multiple times, because the vibes also from employees. What happens, Shane, is that, and I personally, what I do, I like to go and visit customers with the sales manager, not with the branch manager. And I tell my people throughout my say, take me to the tough customers. I know your customers like you. You're successful, and then you're working with the CEO. You're going to take me to a tough customer. Let us, because those vibes are very important. And then whether I, as a CEO or as a board member, we need to be in the field for sure. And I encourage all of you, and I wish all of you to be sitting on boards. This will give you a huge, huge visibility and then a sense of comfort when you sign off on whether you want to divest or not.
I mean, one exercise has helped me, build a better rapport between the employees. Is every year I have about 750 employees, juniors to seniors, and I meet at least 400 of them every year. They have 20 minutes just to know them, just to know me. My door is open. It's just to have. Also, I've found a lot of people in the wrong places when they first joined the company. So Why I'm saying this is during my board appointments, I've actually met the employees just to understand. It's not about micromanaging, what the CEO is doing or not doing, but just to understand, what is the business is exactly about. And nobody else can tell me except for the employees actually who's cleaning the carpets, who's delivering the carpets, who's 24/7 cleaning the rooms, whether it's a hotel or a venue or setting up. I've spent hours on the floor with normal employees to understand how many minutes does it take to lay a 1 square meter of carpets, drapes, chairs, where are they coming from. These answers the CEO would not know. So today we are actually, we're proud that, with the great team that is making me look good, and I'm making our CEO and the board look good. So it's just an ecosystem, that we're working together.
That takes me to the hiring. For me, when I look into anything that I hire, first, frankly speaking, I don't hire for knowledge, I don't hire for skills, I hire for passion. Okay? Because that is such important thing that you want to bring. If you're a board member, you bring your passion, you're passionate about it, you will learn, right? And then you will learn, because you're going to be hired as a board member because you've done XP, you have cookies here, right? So you're doing it. If you're not an industry expert, but you have a financial or you have a marketing expertise, you learn that industry very quickly. But you need to be passionate. You need to come into the board, as Shane was saying, look into yourself in the mirror every day that I'm going to contribute, I'm going to bring a value. That is basically the positive attraction, right? This is something that we need to, every one of you, frankly speaking, and if we have somebody positive coming to the board. So to answer your question, it's very welcome, because I think it's going to be impacting other board members in a positive way. We welcome it, and I welcome even on the executive team to voice out, to be open on their feedback. So thank you for asking.
Great. Mahir?
Okay. No comments on our board. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think, we're lucky enough, or I'm lucky enough to work with, Sheikh Ahmed bin Saeed as the chairman of our board and Buti Al-Gendi as the vice chairman. And most of the board members have had, amazing experiences, and they're actually adding value to our business and industry. So I think we're in a, very strong position here, and the support that they're giving us to evolve, to revolutionize the things that we do.
Right. I mean, I can give you some tangible ones. So, you look at a company like Dar Al Arkan, which is the largest public listed real estate company in Saudi Arabia. You then have Ziad Al Shar, who's on the board, and you have the Yusuf Al Shalash family. That company had not really done anything out of Saudi. After they changed those board members, they did the Lamborghini villas in Marbella. They did the Donald Trump golf course in Oman. They did the Dolce & Gabbana Tower. Then they launched the new Trump Tower in Saudi Arabia, created a pipeline of $5 billion, brought $1 billion cash into the business, listed the company on the London Stock Exchange. Today, the international net profit for the business, the international side, is larger than the net profit inside Saudi, and that's within 4 or 5 years, that growth, versus a company that has a legacy that goes back, I don't know, these Saudi companies, you have to double check, it's like a long, long history. You have in Oman, you have Ominvest, which is a publicly listed investment company. It was just sitting there collecting dividends of Oman Arab Bank. They changed the chairman to Khalid Al Zubair. From 2014 to 2018, they had 1,000% net profit growth. They're the ones who just purchased RSA Insurance. They're on an acquisition spree. Value is through your stock price. I don't know how many multiples it went up. And then you had one on the board, on the panel here this morning. So, what I call the United States of Abdulaziz Al Ghurair, that value, $400 million valuation, it's more, because that was they only sold 65% of the company for $400 million. And that was a direct result of his leadership style. Obviously he's the chairman there. And so, what happens is people underestimate the impact of value, of talent.
That could be an example as well, where sometimes there is a very, very powerful CEO. He's an executive member, but he could take over some of the power of the board. There could be examples of that, and you look into the stories where, because of the performance, super agility, and that could be as well possibly good or no. So performance is great, bringing a lot of dividends and everything, but that he's overpowering the board So there are examples like that. Yeah, so there's always the balance, and then it becomes the responsibility of the chair, where, of course, in our part of the world, it's different than the United States. In the United States, and a lot of times in the publicly listed company, you have two positions in one. You see chairman and CEO. And that is very, the way I see it, I think it gives the CEO a huge amount of power. And I think here the separation of powers, it's more balanced. So there are examples. It's the dynamics of the board within, and sometimes you have board members who are active, but they cannot. They're afraid. They're worried. And that's something that does exist.
Great. And so I think we were also talking about salary. So there was one negotiation technique I was using there on you. I don't know if anyone picked it up. But when I was talking to the gentleman, I said, what's the delta? And then I dropped 5%, which is anchoring, to try to anchor him low. And he successfully did what you're supposed to do is anchor to counter is anchor high. So try, the main takeaways here is start to think that, you're up against a colossal power of nature. You're going to have to beat the odds. Your mindset has to be that you're going to be a playmaker. And you need to start to say, okay, what are my salary negotiation techniques? Am I going to use framing? Am I going to use discounting? Am I going to use a walkaway? What are all the different approaches? How is the cadence of that salary negotiation or that fee negotiation going to work? What's the ebb and flow? And put a strategy together, create a strategy sheet, or you can take, not that I'm trying to sell this, but you can take our salary course, of course, if you'd like. But I'll close that. Any final comments before we...
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, okay, great.